Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. It's Rock Block Ownership with a weekly comic book roundup. This time we'll be talking about this week's X-Men books, all three of them. So, starting things off, we've got a new Wolverine one-shot, Wolverine Exit Wounds. I love that cover. Stegman did a damn good job. So this is this is three Wolverine stories written by legendary Wolverine writers, and I wouldn't necessarily say drawn by legendary Wolverine artists, but you know, the artists in question are not exactly unknowns. So first off, we've got Red in Tooth and Claw by Larry Hama, who wrote so much of Wolverine's solo book back in the 80s and 90s, and drawn by Scott Eaton. So this takes place during his days with the Weapon X Project. The points when they were implanting memories and getting rid of actual memories. And some memories do pop up. I think this is actually supposed to be the death of Silver Fox that he's remembering, and then the ensuing fight with Sabretooth. So they send him out to. He almost ruptures the tank that he's in. And he ends up fighting off a bunch of wolves. And once he's done, he's going to be brought back in and sent out with the helmet on. And it turns out that they've pumped a bear full of psychosis-inducing drugs, methamphetamine, and a cocktail of nerve irritants. And they basically send it up against Logan. But Wolverine doesn't see the bear, he's seeing Sabretooth. And then he slices the bear's head off. But he's not coming down. They can't retake control. But they eventually do bring him in. And they said, yeah, he's going to be their perfect killing machine, Weapon X. Next up, we've got The Aftermath. Written by Chris Claremont and drawn by Salvador Larroca. Claremont wrote a huge portion of Uncanny X-Men in the 80s, and also began the just X-Men book in the 90s. The work he put in, he also wrote the first Wolverine miniseries, which was drawn by Frank Miller. But the first, a lot of what he wrote is what's basically, he defined a lot of the characters basically, and so yeah. So this focuses on Wolverine Kitty Pryde in northern Japan, the domain of Clan Yakuza. The two of them are driving around with Yukio. Want to see someone. It's a woman named Ashiko. Her and her son run a restaurant, and turns out there's a group trying to get Hoshiko's ramen recipes. So they decided that Logan will cook ramen tonight, and turns out Logan has his own ramen recipe. And Hoshiko's amongst the best chefs there is, like her mom, and her mom, and her mom before her. And so, and Kitty ends up helping as well. And she's watching what Logan does, so and trying to remember all of it so she can try it herself back home. So during dinner, however, some representatives from one of the local syndicates show up and they start some garbage. They start some shit and are promptly smacked around by Logan. Um, while briefly, Kitty stops and looks at one of a bank of pictures. Family pictures, mother and child. And finally, a wedding picture. Hoshiko's great grandmother. And Logan. But Kitty brings Logan the Yashida katana, and Logan's like, oh, you know what? We're good. And Logan also explains, this is how things are. Also, turns out the noodle house they're eating at is called the Logan Noodle House. But he explains that the thugs are going to apologize to Hoshiko and her son, clean up the mess and repair the damage, and become the most law-abiding friends that the town has ever had. Because if Logan has to come back and remind them of this, it'll be the last time he comes back. And finally, we have Logan by Sam Keith. Now, Sam Keith, his history with Wolverine is mainly from his time with Marvel Comics Presents back in the 80s and 90s. Back then, Marvel Comics Presents was a bi-weekly anthology title. There'd be a Wolverine story. There would be usually it would be a long. It would be a story about the length of a normal comic book, but portioned out into this anthology. Oh God, I'm trying to think who some of the other superheroes would be featured regularly. But various Marvel characters would pop up, usually just in little short one-offs that would fit just as well as a backup story in a longer issue. So, the story Logan begins with Wolverine in a South American swamp. They've been blackmailed into trying to track down the leader of a drug cartel. There's something dangerous in the air. It's close. Turns out it's Venom. So Wolverine and Venom fight it out a bit. And Logan manages to get Eddie to come out for just a moment. And Brock explains that the symbiote's too strong, he can't fight it alone. Wolverine says, "Oh, there's one thing that might work." And so Eddie says, "Well, do it." Well, he goes berserk. And Wolverine explains he hates summoning it. It's almost impossible to bring it on deliberately. Between the heat and Venom's pummeling, get him so worked up, it might be his only shot. It did the trick, though. And so, That's where it ends. And Venom has collapsed at his feet. And that's where the story ends. That, in fact, is where the one-shot ends. Moving on to Age of X-Men Extremis, number 5 of 5, no less. So where we left off, oh boy. Northstar, Richter, and, as revealed at the very end of the last issue, Jubilee had remembered has begun to remember their actual memories. Iceman was also with them and was beginning to get some inklings of things, but he wasn't there yet. So the issue begins. The issue is actually narrated by Jubilee. She said, it says, "Have you ever walked around just carrying a feeling of wrongness? Like you don't really know what it is or where it comes from. There's just something about yourself that you know isn't right. What's that word? Not cacophony, but like kind of in the same vocab family. Discordant. You just lived like this for a while, feeling kind of monstrous, kind of really undeserving of love and happiness, and for the longest time you don't even know why. Until one day you learn something important about yourself that you didn't know before, and then something else starts to everything else starts to make sense in reverse." And this is during her Northstar and Richter just saying, "Fuck it, we're starting a riot." Flashback to 9 o'clock that morning. She's filing reports, and suddenly a bunch of rats show up. It's Nezumi. The pregnant girl they had locked up in their basement. Apparently she has a secondary mutation, controlling rats, and she's now carrying an M16. So, the rats managed to chew through her chains, but they got through, and so she gave birth to her child. And she asked where everyone else is, and we see brief little glimpses. Psylocke and Blob are having coffee together. Richter, Northstar and Bobby and Iceman are hanging out and drinking. Moneta is on the way somewhere, mad as hell. But, yeah. And then it hits Jubilee. She has a child. She's a son. And so she helps swaddle Nezumi's child. Apologizes, and she realizes she has a son that she doesn't know where her son is. Later on, she spies Blob and Psylocke together. She finds the Apartment X van, parked in a coffee house. So she gets out of the way, goes in, and finds Moneta's body. Bullet hole through her forehead. She finds the keys to the van. And she also managed to start a fire at Blob's house. And it turns out that, yeah, actually, Psylocke hasn't been deleting the memories of everyone they arrested, just as Monet accused her of. She's been storing them. And so she restores everyone's memory, all the memories she's taken from people. And you especially see people during the riot. I guess this would be during the riot at the Danger Room. But yeah, a lot of these people are in prison when they get their memories back. And it takes Northstar calling Iceman Otterpop, somewhat of a pet name he used to have. That, as he puts it, long before he met his husband, when Northstar had a one-sided crush on Iceman, he nicknamed Iceman Otterpop, in the hopes that Iceman was secretly gay too, which Iceman was, but yeah. And then that's when Bobby wakes up. That's when Iceman wakes up. The idea being that the whole time, even under reconditioning, Iceman had been the one person working extra hard just to keep everyone afloat. So when everything came crashing down and he started remembering, he had the furthest to fall. But Northstar decides that they says that they don't have time to unpack the trauma of all this right now. So cry if you must, and then put it away because we still have work to do and people to make pay. And Department X now has Die Extremis spray painted across the top of it. And Bob's there. Turns out that afternoon, Jubilee brought the van to Nuzumi. Nuzumi says, hey, don't think that this means that she forgives him. She still hates him for what they did to her. All. Then Jubilee kind of has, even if I robbed 3 banks and filled the back of the van with 700 large, which she totally did, it turns out. But it turns out this is all supposed to be a letter she's writing to Shogo, to help clear up that scary time in Shogo's life when his mom was gone. And once again, as I've been saying the last few weeks, okay, we're barreling closer and closer to Age of X-Men Omega, which will be the conclusion of the story. Next and finally is Major X number 6. So where we left off, Major X, McCoy, and the Essential were at the modern day Jean Grey School of the modern day Charles Xavier School of Higher Learning at Outreach Center, and Major X was being reunited with his mother, or was enabled with the idea of saving Major X's mother, Storm. Well, we open up with Deadpool. Actual Deadpool, not Dreadpool. Deadpool. He's being recruited to help out. And he would normally charge for what he's going to do, but he's going to go with the friend and family rate on this go-round. At the Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, however, Lord Namor from the future is attacking with a Leviathan, a flying Leviathan. And so, I still have to shake my head. There's a really dumb nod to Liefeld's fellow Image founder, Eric Larson. When Jubilee sees the flying Leviathan, it says, "That is one savage dragon." It's like, really, man? Really? But yeah. The X-Men fight off Namor and his forces. Dreadpool manages to take down Jean Grey briefly. And Future Cable, you can tell by the gigantic beard. It's like, we're talking a beard that's like, we're talking a Santa Claus beard, and he's got braids coming out of it. So yeah, Future Cable, whose eye is not scarred the same way it should be. Little things. And so Deadpool and Dreadpool duke it out. Turns out that Deadpool is Dreadpool's equalizer. His very presence throws Dreadpool's entire game off balance. And Deadpool refers to Dreadpool as Schmuckpool, which, hey, works for me. Then he takes off Dreadpool's helmet to sees who he is, and then he teleports away. So we don't get to see who it is. Cable and Jean have a little mother-son bit, and Major X and Storm have a mother-son bit. They defeat Namor and his forces. And the Essential returns to the present to the future with Namor and those that attacked the X-Men with him. Then but all said and done, Future Cable and Major X go off into the future with McCoy. And yeah. And that is Major X. Though, of course, there's also Major X number 0 coming out soon, which, yeah. A little more about from the Liefeld verse. That is it for this week's comic book roundup. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell icon to be notified when I put new content. Links to my Facebook and Twitter and Patreon and PayPal are in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off saying live long and rock hard.